Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. If you guys didn't know, Gaijin has finally released War Thunder Mobile, even if it is only in beta mode thus far. But let me tell you, there is a lot to unpack, and in this video, I will be unpacking it. So I do have some gameplay. I've finally played this game probably for about an hour or two, and I want to give my first gameplay impressions about what this game is all about, some of the likes I have, some of the dislikes, and my conclusion, because there is a lot to unpack. I've purchased premiums, I've played ground, I've played naval. They do not currently have full air mode, however you can play air in ground mode, which is pretty cool. But in the future, I do suspect that we will have some sort of air game mode dedicated again to air, but air feels actually pretty decent. That being said, let's just jump into it, and I'll go over my likes and dislikes first, starting with my likes, and I'll have my gameplay in the background. Now, this game has surprisingly good damage and vehicle models. So if you guys didn't ever play World of Tanks, World of Tanks is more based around hit points. This is not. Even though it's mobile, it still feels nearly as good, though not as quite, as it does in War Thunder proper. I don't know if it's just because I'm playing low-level vehicles thus far, because of course most people are, but it feels like I just die in one hit a lot, but I guess that's just War Thunder for you. Secondly, you have a fairly simplified crew setup, which of course helps for mobile games. What I mean by that is that, of course, if you've ever played War Thunder proper, and I'll call it War Thunder proper or old school War Thunder, the one that most people have played, is that you earn crew points as you get experience and all that in-game as you play matches, and then you can put that to, for example, artillery accuracy or turret traverse speed, whatever the case may be. It's very similar to how this is in War Thunder Mobile, except a bit more simplified, which is pretty cool. Third, the maps are fairly similar to what we see in old school War Thunder, but of course are smaller, which again, at least in my opinion, helps with mobile gaming, which brings me to my fourth like of it. The matches don't really feel all too long. In my opinion, you don't really want to be tied down, especially if you're on the go with a match that's 15 minutes long. Now, I'm sure that you're going to have some longer matches like that, but it's nice that it's like 5 minutes, you know? I mean, that is actually a very nice thing. It's quicker than standard War Thunder. Not by a ton, but I feel like it's nice, especially because you never know. I mean, these games, especially War Thunder, I'll go over this in a moment, it can eat up your battery. So the shorter the match, the easier you can get out of the game if you need to, which is nice. Beyond this, it has a good mix of vehicles to choose from, especially when you're first starting out. It gave me the options to play with the Panzerführer Aus F2, the T-34, and M4. So pretty much it starts you off at around 3.3 or so BR in regular War Thunder, which is nice. You know, you're not starting off with reserves. You don't have weird vehicles like the M3 Lee, or with some, great vehicles, of course, like the Panzer II Aus C or something, but you do start off where pretty much anybody would like to start off, which is more or less with the tanks that we all know and love from World War II. Now, beyond this, and again, I did play naval, but naval feels surprisingly good, almost kind of like how World of Warship plays, though of course War Thunder Mobile does have better damage models. Also, War Thunder Mobile will give you access to the Yamato, Iowa, and Bismarck, which is amazing. Not that World of Warships doesn't, but regular War Thunder does not have access to the Yamato, Iowa, or Bismarck, or any of those ships at around that size. So it's pretty crazy that those are coming to War Thunder Mobile first, and if you do download War Thunder Mobile, you can actually see the models in game. I don't believe that they're currently available for play, but they are in the files, and you can actually see them in the regular game client. And finally, for my likes, I don't know if this is a pro or con, but War Thunder Mobile feels a bit more arcadey than arcade mode in standard War Thunder. Again, don't really know if that's good or bad, but it's something I've noticed. And before we continue, just bear in mind that this video is going to be some of my likes, some of my dislikes. If I didn't really think of everything, my apologies. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below with your experience of this game, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who feel one way or another about a lot of my opinions, especially when it comes to this iteration of War Thunder. With that said, let's get to the dislikes. Now, first and foremost, this is huge and obnoxious. If you don't want to take a loss in War Thunder, you either have to use your spare vehicles which is going to be required if your platoon is under 5. So let me just get that out of the way first. You basically cannot select your own lineup. Your lineup is determined by the level. Like, let's say if you got yourself the M4A1 with a 76mm, right? And that's a totally new vehicle. If you got that, then you have to grind through. You have to get to platoon level 5, so that means that you have to basically play the M4A1 76mm enough to get to platoon level 5, which then unlocks a second vehicle in your platoon or your lineup, and then a third vehicle, which would, I think, be the Hellcat, and then a fourth vehicle, which I think is the Duster, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, you basically have to go through 20 levels of your platoon to fully unlock your lineup, all 4 vehicles, which sounds okay. But the fact is that because you cannot custom make your lineups thus far, you either go into a match with 1 vehicle or 2 vehicles and you die, and then you either have to use your backups, which they call spares in War Thunder Mobile. You have to use those, and if you choose not to use those, even if you do have backups and you leave the match, you will lose the match. It will be counted as a loss if you lose early, if you have backups, even if your team wins. Let's say if you have the game 99% in the bag, you just get a little bit impatient and you have a spare that you could use for your 1 vehicle or your 2 vehicles or whatever the case may be. Technically, you could still play War Thunder. You press go back to hangar, you want to do that, it will be counted as a loss even though literally everybody else on your team won. That's not very cool. I do not like that because it's forcing you either to buy spares and use spares. Like, it basically forces you to keep using spares, because if you don't have spares, then this game mechanic will not impact you because you can leave a match early. But if you have spares, you have to use them. Otherwise, it will count it as, hey, you have another vehicle that you could use. Why are you leaving early? We're going to give you a loss. Which, if I'm not mistaken, if it's anything like regular War Thunder, a loss gives you a lower multiplier for SL and RP, which means that you will be negatively impacted if you leave the match early. So it's even better just to stay in the match, especially if you think that your team is winning. It's better to stay in the match and not pick any other vehicle if you have a spare and you don't want to use it than to leave the match early, if that makes any sense. Play the game, you'll know what I'm talking about, but it is a huge amount of bad, really bad design. At least if you're a player, it is not player-centric at all. Secondly, this game thus far is not very helpful in showing exactly how to upgrade vehicles and what everything does. It's kind of a guessing game. Further, when you're selecting shell types in a match for ground RB, the font and the layout of the description of the shells feels a bit confusing, even for me, and I've been playing War Thunder for over a decade. It's not that it's not in plain English, which of course I speak English, but it's more so just how it's laid out. It just does not feel very good for a mobile experience. Third, maybe I missed it, but it doesn't feel like there is a realistic mode. Maybe there will be at some point, but thus far it just feels like AB is available for War Thunder Mobile. For its fourth dislike, I was going to say weakness because I do so many reviews, it seems substantially more monetized than War Thunder proper, especially with the extremely heavy use of consumables like repair kits and fire extinguishers, which if you don't use them or you don't have enough, you will die. It feels like World of Tanks in that regard, though thankfully still a little bit better, at least in my opinion, because World of Tanks has even more consumables and other BS that's just ridiculous, so at least War Thunder Mobile isn't quite that bad, but who knows what it will bring in the future. Now, beyond this, while the progression system is somewhat straightforward, as you know, let's say if you get to level 3, then you can get this vehicle and, you know, progress through 20 ranks of your platoon to get all the vehicles in that lineup, whatever. It's kind of straightforward once you learn it, but it just doesn't feel entirely clear and like you really have much choice in it. Like I said before, you cannot pick your own lineups. Rather, they're grouped in with what I purchase. So let's say if you like the idea of the Panther F, but you don't like any other vehicle in that lineup, too bad, too bad. You cannot make your own lineup. You just have the one vehicle that you like, and that's it. Next up for my dislikes, because of this, higher level premium tank platoons are ridiculously expensive because, again, you are purchasing not only that one tank, but essentially the entire lineup. With a regular tech tree vehicle, you are going to purchase the first tank, and then as you get through the platoon, as you level up your platoon, you unlock all the other 3 tanks in that platoon. But if you purchase a premium tank, so you purchase a premium platoon, let's say again the M1A1 platoon, which is what I did, it's only $4.99 or something like that. I purchased that, and then it gives me every single vehicle in that platoon fully unlocked. Great, right? Awesome. But the problem is that this makes platoons incredibly expensive. So for example, there are some platoons, I think like the IS-2 and the Tiger II SLA-16, which are over 10,000 golden eagles to purchase. And again, it's not like you're just purchasing the one vehicle, but you're purchasing 4 vehicles. So Gaijin's like, oh, well, you know, it's 4 vehicles, so we're going to have to charge it for 4 vehicles. Some of them will require, again, over 10,000 golden eagles, which is going to require the purchase of either $99.99 worth of golden eagles or some combination of lower amounts of golden eagles. I think currently $99.99 of GE is something like 12 or 14,000 golden eagles. So you are going to have to spend a ton in order to unlock these higher level platoons, essentially. You can pretty much call a platoon a lineup because that's what it is. You're purchasing a lineup. The difference between premium platoons and regular platoons is that a premium platoon gives you all 4 vehicles fully upgraded from the get-go, and a regular platoon gives you essentially 1 vehicle, and then you have to upgrade that and unlock every other vehicle. So it gives a massive, huge bonus or benefit to anyone and any team that has a large amount of premium players, especially early on in the game. Because of course, if those premium players have all 4 of their vehicles in their lineup, whereas regular tech tree players only have 1 or 2, the premium players, especially being that they're fully upgraded with crew too, their crew's fully upgraded, will have a massive benefit over the regular tech tree team or regular tech tree players. Now beyond this, and there is more, and a lot of this has to do with the monetization, premium account in War Thunder Mobile does not give as much of a bonus as it does in standard War Thunder, giving only a 50% boost to RP and SL, whereas War Thunder proper gives a 100% boost to RP in all game modes, with a 100% SL bonus for game time, though of course still giving a 50% SL boost for active actions and for lesser played game modes like Assault Arcade. Beyond this, the controls feel a bit off, at least for me. I kind of wish that there were 3 cruise control settings. Maybe there are, maybe I haven't found them, but it's just not the same as regular War Thunder, which kind of throws me off. It might trip up older players from the game, but people playing War Thunder Mobile as their first War Thunder experience will likely have no issues with this. But again, to go forward at full speed, it's 2 times to tap the forward button, whereas I'm used to pressing the cruise control button 3 times. So again, it's probably just me, but it's a little bit weird. And finally, this game will absolutely annihilate your phone's battery if you're playing on max settings with higher frames per second. I've got a Samsung Galaxy S21 FE, which is great and all, but it's about a year old at this point, and I think this game took me from 40 or so percent to around 9 or 10% in about 40 minutes of gameplay, maybe 45. So you're looking at, give or take, around 1% every minute, minute and a half, at least using those settings and for my year-old phone. So it can annihilate your phone pretty quickly. So do not use this if you ever need your phone for an emergency. Now, that being said, for my conclusion, obviously, there are still many changes and updates to be made to War Thunder Mobile before it goes out of beta. That's why it's an open beta after all. But the extremely heavy monetization, of which is substantially higher than what we have in regular War Thunder, is disconcerting, considering that the old school War Thunder is also a free-to-play game. In many ways, it's good that War Thunder started so long ago, as the gaming industry was less based on microtransactions at that point, basically making it so that War Thunder can't change things too much in game currently, otherwise players will revolt. We've actually seen this in the past. Gaijin tried adding consumables to War Thunder, but the players said no, and they put an end to it. Being that War Thunder Mobile is a new game, they have a fresh slate to monetize as much as they truly want to, and it shows. The controls also feel a bit iffy, but again, I don't know if I missed it, but I want to have the ability to move controls, like the control buttons on the screen, such as the fire button, around the screen, as I often either don't fire when I want to, or I fire when I don't want to, which does create a little bit of a headache. It makes you have to reload when you really do not want to reload. Otherwise, even with these issues, if you can avoid the blatant monetization and what I feel are currently meh controls, the game is actually fairly solid and gives a bite-sized version of War Thunder to experience on your phone, which is awesome. It's a shame that there aren't currently any ways to have gameplay in one game benefit the other, but we'll have to wait and see if that ever happens. Kind of like if you played Metroid Fusion and then you had the Fusion suit and then you plugged it into your GameCube and you got the Fusion suit Metroid Prime. That was really cool. I would love that to be in War Thunder Mobile, in War Thunder proper, like a decal or something, but we'll have to wait and see. Now that said, we are still extremely early in War Thunder Mobile's life. I've been playing War Thunder since before tanks were a thing in-game, and it has grown in far more ways than I could have ever imagined all those years ago, over a decade ago at this point, and I feel that War Thunder Mobile will probably be no different. It has relatively strong bones, but I hope that it builds upon that foundation properly, and that the game comes first with monetization taking a backseat or being thrown in the trunk. If you make a great game, then people will buy into it. If you make a bad game that focuses on monetization, people will end up resenting you, and while profits might be big initially, you won't have something that lasts, kind of like War Thunder has. I also hope that War Thunder Mobile doesn't steal away resources from old school War Thunder, because if done improperly, War Thunder Mobile could end up hurting both itself and of course the old school War Thunder, which would suck. Regardless of these worries, I still like this game and will be following it pretty intently. I still feel that old school War Thunder is the game that I'll be sticking with, but at least War Thunder Mobile offers a somewhat proper reflection of that game on your phone, which is pretty darn great. If you have an Android, I would suggest that you definitely check it out, but keep in mind that the game is not complete yet. There is still a ton to be done to make this game ready for full release. So bear that in mind. Again, this is an open beta, and anything and everything that I mentioned thus far could be totally changed in one way or another. Very important to know, because there have been games that look totally different after full release than they did in open beta, so keep an open mind. Either way, thanks so much for watching. Please, of course, consider liking, commenting, subscribing. I, of course, like all of that. I appreciate all that. It always means the world to me. But thanks again, guys, and I will see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.